office caught fire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do not
There was a
celebrate.
literal dumpster fire 3 years ago today. Google Photos just reminded me. I was like, thanks, Google. That was a great day. Thanks for that memory.
Wow.
That's great. All right, here's my television intro. So 5, 4.
And we're live with the Standards Working Group meeting for today, August 11th, 2020. We have several of our friends from the CPC who are interested in standards, and that can be you too, my dear watchers on the YouTubes. If you're interested in getting involved, just head on over to our Slack channel and join the Standards Working Group channel in Slack, and we'll help you get onboarded. Anyway, any announcements?
Yeah, I guess an announcement that is exciting. Node 14.8.0 went out today, and with it came an unflagged version of top level await. From a standards perspective, this is exciting for me personally because it's something that I was the champion of over at TC39, and I think it's in and around the 3-year anniversary of like getting work started on that. The other thing that's exciting is Dino as a JavaScript platform, I believe was the first platform to have top level await available without a flag. And now, Node is following up also. We had worked closely, Node, with the Dino team to give them feedback on their implementation because there's kind of some subtleties. What we were waiting for and why Node didn't have it come out sooner, we were really waiting for stability of the feature itself. So the way in which Chrome does this, V8 is the JavaScript engine that implements the features. Top level await has actually been implemented in V8 for quite a little while, and you've been able to use it in Node for a bit with the -- Harmony top level await flag, although that just turned on top level await in V8, and there were some implementation details we needed to do in Node to make sure that failures and asynchronicity was being handled properly. And I believe it was in one of the earlier versions of 14 that we introduced an experimental top level await flag that actually wired everything up properly. We were originally going to wait until Chrome unflagged it before landing it in Node. Dino is a little bit more experimental, doesn't have the same kind of level of legacy support, so it makes a lot of sense that their support contract is different. But for us, we wanted to just make sure this thing was stable, it was ready for production. We weren't taking on a lot of extra work over in Node. Turns out that the integration into the HTML spec is taking a little bit longer than expected. So the feature actually exists in V8. It's stable. It's been running against their fuzzers for a couple months now too. So they're pretty confident in the stability of it. And the only things that were kind of stopping it from getting fully stable is these HTML integrations, which are completely out of scope. So one of the things, a lot of context, sorry about that. But the reason I think that this is exciting and cool is this, I think, is one of the first language features that Node participated in from the founding of the feature, and we're actually shipping it before browsers are even able to ship it, and not doing it in a way that's not without the blessing of the upstream folks. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. I think it's going to unlock a lot of use cases and usability. And so overall, I'm kind of gushing, so I'll stop talking.
Well, rightfully so. That is huge. You have been working really hard on this for a long time, and along with others too. But I'm just super stoked for you and very excited and thrilled to share your excitement and spread the word, Bird. Happy top level await day.
As they say, the bird is the word.
It is.
The bird is.
That's awesome. Well, anything else we should be celebrating today? I feel like that's great. Any other exciting announcements?
Well, I'm speaking at OSCON on Thursday. I always love to give a plug with the great work the standards folks are doing in the standards working group. So that's cool. If you're, I have a few passes to give away. So if you're interested, send me a DM and I can give you a code. So.
All right. I think kind of another kind of announcements that are certainly pertinent to the standards working group. TPAC, as you all may have heard, is going to be happening virtually this year over the course of the last 2 weeks of October. The 13th, so 2 days from today, is the last is the deadline to get any working group session meetings or proposals for breakout sessions and stuff like that into the team. So if you or someone you know and or love want to do a working group session, there's only 2 more days to get that in. So please do that. Anything else? Brian, do you have any fun news announcements, things to share?
So I think this week is the deadline for us to submit any concerns about W3C process changes. Does that sound right, Joe?
I believe
just
that's
trying to check to see the date.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
I haven't sent an update about this. I don't have any concerns myself. It's most of it is making things sort of more efficient. But maybe that would be worth having some larger conversation about. I don't know. If you have concerns, definitely reach out to me. If you are interested in discussing it, reach out to me. I don't know, I guess other interesting things, since we had talked about the open prioritization thing about a month ago, we posted a 30-day update on that, and that's interesting if you want to take a look at that. Yeah, that's, I think, all I have.
Awesome. Just gonna pop the doc, link to the hackmd.org and taking notes again really quick in our Zoom chat.
Excellent.
And before we jump into the agenda, Ben just joined. Nice to see you, Ben.
Hi, everybody.
And,
Oh, hey, Ben.
hey.
Oh, hi,
I was
everybody.
like, where did he go?
Yeah, Joe, thank you for the introduction. I think what you wanted me to introduce was that I'm working on a blog, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just
if you're cool with that, I don't mean to push
yeah,
you.
Yeah, it's not done. I've been in the middle of a few interviewing pipelines, but I have a blog introducing the Unicode standards body to OpenJS, and let me see if I can find it real quick so I can share.
I got it handy for you.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, just throw it in the chat there. So not done yet, but kind of introduces, the topology of what Unicode looks like, giving people a better understanding of where our footprint mixes with theirs and how it can grow over time together in a relationship. But most for the purpose of helping us understand what the heck is the Unicode Consortium and how do we meaningfully engage with the organization over time.
Great.
That's awesome.
So should people just comment on there if they have any thoughts or what have you?
Yeah. Like I said, I'll be expanding on it probably hopefully get that out early next week so that we can kind of finalize a draft. I'm sort of in the middle of a lot of interviews right now, but I think early next week I can probably finalize it and then have draft ready for edits or whatever. I'm not particularly of a style of writing where I feel like I have to have the final say on everything I write. I appreciate any changes anybody likes to would like to add or whatever. So feel free to take ownership as well.
Cool.
All right. Well, we've got a lot going on. This is awesome. Anything else? All right. let's dig into ye old agenda then. So issue 102 is our one tagged item for discussion today. This was opened by Deb Sneck, who's a member of TC 39, and that is a request to, I believe what they are asking is to advance two proposals, two separate proposals under the auspices, under the umbrella of the OpenJS Foundation. There's been some discussion about the proposals themselves, which is of course interesting, but I think it is worth taking a step back to just to check in on whether this is actually an intended type of activity, whether we actually mean to be proposing these through the foundation itself or more, whatever. Okay, Miles, yes.
Jordan had their hand up first and then me, please.
Okay, sorry, I'll look at hands now. Jordan.
My headphones, there we go. So I think that it's a great idea for any time anyone has something to bring to a standards meeting, that they circulate it as early as possible with our group to get feedback. I hope that regardless of any of our feelings on these specific proposals, one of which I love and the other which I'm unconvinced by, that we would never deprive the wider standards committee of hearing the proposal. So I think I'll be very happy if the outcome of this is that we get a pulse from this group of our opinions on this proposal. I would not be happy if we decided not to push one forward, or if we even, I'd even be skeptical if we convinced Gus not to continue suggesting one. Because in the past, I have not been pleased when I have heard about proposals dying within a member company before they reach discussion in a wider committee. I think that kind of silences people who might otherwise have useful opinions.
Miles?
Hello. So two things that I wanted to add. Gus would like to join this meeting. They were just not aware of the timing because of the issue thing that we were talking about earlier not being created. I've pinged them. They have the link and they're going to try to join ASAP. So that was just one point of order I wanted to make, is that if we have another topic that we can talk about to burn some time, we can wait for Gus to show up. Separately from that, I think that, like I hear what Jordan is saying about like things coming to committee, and it's definitely like an interesting balance for TC39 in particular, because we try to make sure that like the usage of time at the committee is being done like effectively and productively. But that being said, like deciding not to move forward with something and having that on the record is actually like a good thing to have also, because that's like a precedent that can be pointed towards about like why certain things aren't being worked on. Not to be super repetitive, but talking about top level await, for example, one of the reasons why I felt confident and comfortable to bring it up to the committee, despite the fact that it was a rather controversial feature, was the fact that going through all the previous notes, there was no like prior art and saying we won't do this. And in fact, there was a bunch of work carving out space for it. So I think to Jordan's point, bringing ideas to committee, even if we don't have consensus in this group, definitely feels reasonable to me. The only thing that I would maybe want to push back on, like the tiniest bit, would be whether or not like this standards group, this working group, this meeting in particular, is the appropriate venue to be having that discussion. To me, like these meetings tend to be, or at least the intent has been for them to be like much more administrative. So I would see it, at least to me, make a lot more sense for, like the foundation to hold some sort of like pre-meeting where all of the different projects can participate that we help to facilitate, and pick a time that like works best for the schedule of all the people who have said they want to participate, just as an example. And I think to the point that Jordan's making there, similar to an objection, perhaps, not to pull too much from the past, but simply because two groups within our foundation don't agree on something is not necessarily a reason to not move forward with it. So I think that like maybe where we can, like our role to play here as like a facilitator is to think about like how do we ensure that we are not wasting committee time, not to be too harsh, and making sure that also we're being like respectful of the ideas that groups are coming up with. But like this specific meeting, I don't think is like the best venue for the technical side of the conversation. It's more like we should be thinking through the procedural side. Now, with that being said, if we have a time where we don't have a meeting, maybe it is better to just keep this as a recurring time. But at the risk of being too repetitive, I'll stop talking because I see that Brian had their hand up. And hello, Gus.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that I understand what Miles is saying, because I think actually that I am fully in agreement. I think what you're saying is this is an appropriate venue for us to like flag a topic and see if there is interest in us helping organize the larger discussion. But the larger discussion itself should be not here.
And when you say here, you're talking about like this specific meeting.
This
with this
specific
meeting,
meeting, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. We should help facilitate that discussion across the foundation. But like this meeting is more about like governance and administration.
Yep. So setting up said meeting, helping organize said meeting, all that kind of stuff, totally appropriate.
Yeah.
Yep.
So hi, Gus.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi, Gus. I put it in the chat. I don't think we've met. What's your last name? Maybe y'all know.
It's Kaplan, C-A-P-L-A-N.
Okay, cool.
So Gus, we were just talking about, and just really getting started, about how to best support and kind of proceed. This is still a newer group within the foundation. Procedurally, like what our group can do from a scope and management and administrative perspective. And then I guess conversely, it'd be great to hear like what you would like, to see in terms of support and, input and that kind of thing for your proposals. So.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I'm just kind of taking this from like I as someone who works on Node and JavaScript things in a general sense, what kind of things can either improve specifically our projects that we work on, or just everything, the entire language in general, and by proxy our projects, and then using the standards group to be able to get those things presented to the relevant bodies, and that whole process. So I'm not sure, like I don't have very clear-cut criteria on what those individual items are. Like the things I posted are, neither of them are specific to any of our projects or anything. They're just things I think would improve the language of the JavaScript language. So I don't really have a well-defined criteria in that regard. So.
Maybe one thing we all kind of want to make clear to each other here is that, in other words, if I've understood correctly, this discussion is not looking for permission or anything from this standards working group to do anything. It's just saying, hi, this is an interesting couple of ideas I'd like to push forward. What do you guys think? Or have I misunderstood something?
Well, I'm not sure which one of those it is. Like, I'm not sure what kind of permission, or, do we vote? Do we is this an advisory type thing? I don't know. So I open the issue to kind of get visibility into that whole, area.
So hand up because I can't use the interface because I'm set up as a co-host. I guess throwing out some ideas here, I would imagine that some of the process here is probably similar to process around like wanting to bring an objection, although I would say it's probably the bar is a lot lower, to be honest, because we're talking about like bringing things and presenting things. I think that it would be reasonable, and this is something that our group can help facilitate, to like do a call to projects to get feedback, in like particular to make sure that if there are discussions that can happen prior to plenary, that's like definitely like a preferable, like to use that time in advance. If you want to get feedback outside of our organization, potentially connecting with other organizations, that's also something that I could see us helping to facilitate. If you wanted to hold a meeting, that's something we could facilitate. I know that there's the I forget what the name of Shu's program that he's now running in TC39 for kind of like out of band meetings that's going on, is another venue where like this could be presented in advance of plenary if you wanted to get more feedback. But I would say like in general, like, this seems like the role we can play is helping to facilitate these discussions that you want to have. I think it's definitely good to raise it in advance, but I think aside from the heads up and asking for like what particular support you need to be successful, it's kind of like, yeah, thanks for the heads up, good luck. I don't know if other folks feel differently about that.
I think we need to deal slightly differently with people who are official representatives of OpenJS in various bodies and the ideas that or opinions that they are voicing, as opposed to cases where it's a lot fuzzier, where yes, a person may well be working with or be working based on some work within an OpenJS project, but are not advancing this representing the OpenJS Foundation. In other words, I'm struggling to figure out any kind of scenario where we could end up telling Gus, no, you should never do this.
I don't think there is a scenario where we would. I think maybe that for me anyway, that the line is just, okay, I don't believe that it's within our scope to say, okay, let's open those specific proposals as repos under our organizational umbrella. I don't think that that's what we want to do. But I think what we do want to do is, if, say, the Node project or any other project, or even Gus as a member of a beloved member of our community, has a proposals that they want to see furthered, that we are here to help them do that effectively. But we're not bringing it under, like, we're not advancing IP under our banner. That's clear, I think, to everyone?
Well, the one clarification I guess I would ask is, so like within TC39, so as a delegate for the OpenJS Foundation to TC39, if I want to bring a proposal there under ECMA's rules of how that works, I would be bringing it as a representative of the OpenJS Foundation, sort of speaking for the OpenJS Foundation, not myself, because that's just kind of how TC39 works. So the maybe it's just sort of optics, but like that was the concern I had, was like how is, like, do I need, just making sure that that's like everybody is cool with that.
So I think like historically there, and other folks who have experience from TC39 can chime in. I think that there's definitely like prior art here in organizations not necessarily being on the same page, or a single person, like an organization the size of Google, for example, or Microsoft. You can't have one person represent the whole organization. And I've definitely seen cases, and you've seen it too, I think, where like one Google representative is presenting a proposal and another one is like has objections and concerns with it. So like, yeah, it's like presenting it on behalf of that organization, but it's still like like delegate X on behalf of Y is presenting it. So I think it's like, not to get too in the weeds, like the individual delegate is still important as far as the cache key is concerned about where it's coming from.
This has been part of my argument from our previous discussion that we're not going to get back into about blocking as well, is that in TC39, at least, the Delegates Act, and there's only been one member company that I've ever become aware of in any way altering or constraining the spoken opinion of its delegates. The vast majority of them, the delegates, are able to act independently and unilaterally and are trusted to be acting in the best interests of their member company.
Yeah, I think we're unique in that we represent so many member companies and also so many community projects that may have differing points of view. As Miles mentioned, many companies have differing points of view just because they have multiple products that may implement things differently. So
right.
I think there has to be if and when you go advocate for something, you have to go through just extra rigor in informing your stakeholders and getting feedback before doing so. So I do love the idea of using this working group as sort of a sounding board to figure out how to have that, how to do that exercise, right? So.
Yeah, I guess like adding to that as well, and also trying to avoid the risk of getting into prior discussions. I think one of the primary differences that I would see here is like, if like what we're talking about here is like a net positive, someone's bringing work to be done. If it does get objected to, either from someone else, from someone in the foundation or someone externally, like that sets a precedent towards it, but then it just kind of like doesn't go anywhere. And I think like as far as like foundation reputation and our relationship with ECMA, it's very different because that's not us coming and like stopping progress. It's us working towards progress, which I'll admit, Jordan is my framing of it. And I know that we have very different ways in which we frame it. But that's personally why I see these as distinct cases.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I see them as largely distinct cases. I think that to your point, Robin, our foundation represents a lot of member companies, but that doesn't mean that every member company has to approve of a proposal. It just means that it has to not like make life harder for each of our projects or each of our member companies. Meaning like if there's invariance in the JavaScript language that a proposal would break and that one of our constituents relies on, then of course that proposal should not be brought by the foundation delegate. But short of something like that, where it's actively going to harm one of our constituents, I feel like seeking progress is appropriate for this.
And I guess like with that in mind, like perhaps this thing where it's, hey, if you are a representative of the foundation, you are one of the foundation's delegates, you're looking at bringing a proposal. And I think in this particular case, Gus, the proposals you're looking at bringing are your own, but that is not necessarily always going to be the case. As a representative, you may be bringing a proposal from another project that they're asking you to help champion, or to help at least get in front of eyes, or you may be helping to mentor someone to come in and do that themselves. I do think like, perhaps having some sort of process where, hey, I'm bringing this, just FYI, and then a mailing list maybe that you send it to that people can subscribe to who care about this, so there can be discussion and feedback can be given. Jordan, I think for like the case that you're bringing up, let's say, and I much prefer to think about this as like projects rather than member companies here, to be more specific, because member companies can become members of ECMA on their own right. And like the purpose here is not to utilize, in my personal opinion, the foundation to allow member companies to have representation there, but rather to allow like individual contributors of projects. So if individual projects have an extreme problem with a proposal, like to bring up top level await again, Webpack had problems with that. Like, we should help be able to facilitate that discussion. And if I were a delegate of OpenJS as opposed to a delegate of Google that I was at the time of this, I should likely have been coming and making sure that I was representing the breadth of opinions of the constituents that I represented, which can be hard to speak out of both sides of your mouth. But I think that that's at least the challenge I hope our foundation delegates can step up to fulfilling.
Well, I feel satisfied with the answers we have come to here. So, for what I was looking for anyway, I think we've, yeah.
Do you feel, Gus, that it's clear to you, like, what like your next steps need to be, slash what we as a committee need to do to help advance that with you?
Yeah, the one thing I would say would be, I don't know, I was reading over the the documentation we have in our repo recently, and I didn't see anything specifically on this, or maybe I didn't read it well enough, but maybe documenting sort of who has agency and that kind of, just all this kind of stuff that we just discussed might be useful.
Agreed. I thank you for also kind of bringing this, because it's one of the first chances we've had to sort of stretch these particular legs. So thanks for taking us on a little jog on it. It's a weird analogy. Sorry, everyone.
Jordan, I'm sorry, but I'm surprised to see your baby is not a PlayStation gamer, but rather is into Xbox.
I have always and only been Xbox.
Okay, so I think we can say that one is done for today. We can move on to let's go down to number 97, pull request 97 that Sindil added. Let me go pull that up because I don't remember what that one is. That one is 97, update member expectations on handling potential conflicts. Sindil, do you want to
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, sure. So this is based on the conversation that we had before during a meeting. It was very long time ago, and I also opened the pull request after a very long time, and it's open for a long time now. So it's like really long time. But it's based on the conversation that Miles and Jordan has, and also like it also includes a few things that we decided on that meeting. So just like minor rewording here and there, and then adding like what to do when there is a potential conflict. So yeah, it's waiting for approval, and if there are any concerns or anything that you want to highlight, it's open. So just let me know. I'll try to amend that.
Do we all want to take a second just for those who may have missed it? Because you're right, it has been open for a while. It certainly would meet the length of time that we tend to allot for these to stay open. Would there be any issues with merging this, especially since this is going to go into stage 1?
No objections, but do we have a process defined for how many people need to review something before it gets merged? Who's responsible for merging it? Things like that.
Yeah, we do have it, and we try to offload that process much more simpler. So we expect 2 people to approve it, and then wait for like 72 hours, like that. And since I had just 1 approval, I was waiting for that approval. That's basically it.
Okay.
I'm going to +1 it. myself.
Me too.
And then we can merge this in. All right, any other open PRs that we need to take a look at? Let me go do that actually really quick. Meeting notes. Thank you, Sindil, for doing those. And adding a new working group member, that's Ben. We should definitely get those in as well. Somebody want to, we had 2+1s and it's been open for a while, so I think that one can be closed. This is 93. Thumbs up. Okay. And not just because Ben's on the call right now.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so that's getting merged in right now. I love the inclusion of the photo, Ben.
I just, you know, it's like, no matter if I know people or not, I just want to like give my same, you know, I just want to like try, you know.
Cool.
I guess that,
all right.
Yeah.
So merging in these meeting notes. All right, cool. And then we also have number 98, which is add representation in Unicode message format working group. And we have 2 approvals on those, on that as well. This is closes number 64. Any issues with merging that one in? All right. Cool, done.
Thank you.
Wow, it feels good to be a PR closing gangster.
Woo.
Gangster.
Yeah. Sorry.
Awesome, Joey.
This space. I'm in an office space right now, so that's where that came from. Okay, cool. And then the last issue that I had for us today was chore wheel, which is that that attempt for us to collectively take on the responsibility of ensuring that there's a meeting issue and ensuring that if there's nothing tagged for the agenda that we cancel, and you know, that we're actually going through the PR, open PRs and stuff. So I think what needs to happen is that we need to like actually do this or change our mind about what we're doing, which is also fine. Any ideas for how to create a chore wheel? There are chore wheel apps. I totally did look at this for all of 5 minutes after our last meeting. We could use it. We could use one of those. They're a little lame, but they do have the satisfying actual spin. So
A kind of extension on the chore wheel idea.
Mhm.
I don't want to derail the conversation, but when we're in these sorts of meetings and we're asking if someone would like to step up to, you know, create a pull request or something, create an issue, I'd love to have a system where the people that are involved are in a list, the people who are doing more of the work are kind of deprioritized a little bit, and we could kind of spin a wheel too to be like, oh, Miles, you're up next on this bit of voluntold work. But that's kind of a different need, I guess. but maybe they could be the same tool. I don't know.
Do we actually have like an itemized list of chores that would need to be assigned?
So I think it's kind of.
Or is that another chore?
Well, so I think one is like just like making sure that there's an agenda. Then the same thing, note taking. Probably PR review, just going through that. So that's like 4 things. And, or maybe is there a Slack bot for this? That's what we need. Like a little Slack thing to go through the roulette of.
I think a Slack bot would be the easiest thing. And yes, I am certain there are some already.
Okay. All right.
The nice thing about that is that it's semi-public and it leaves a record.
Yeah.
Can it spin and click though?
It can't.
Oh.
And that is a big bummer. Foodler,
maybe there's a one that sort of adds in an animated GIF as a sort of action.
I would take that as a runner-up, like an animated GIF of just of like maybe like Animaniacs and like the what's the one with the show with Plinko.
Animaniacs had Wheel of Morality, turn, turn, turn. Is that what you're thinking?
No, I know that one, but then
I think you're thinking of The Price is Right.
Oh.
Wheel of Fortune.
I'm just thinking of wheels. I'm just trying to
It could be
find-
The Price is Right. It's Wheel of Blood.
Yeah, where are we? What?
There's a urban legend that it's full of blood.
Oh.
You can Google it.
No, I don't think I will.
Oh, I will. About that.
All right, that's sufficiently weird. Okay, so
Sorry, didn't mean to darken the mood.
Okay. I think by this point in the day, I'm here for it. So we'll try a Slack bot. If someone and I'll take 5 minutes after this call too, just to go look for some Slack bot options and Slack them in Slack. If y'all could do the same. Yes, Donovan, sorry.
I just wanted to ask how often the chores will be reassigned. You know, I know it's nice to do something new, but also once you started doing something, you can do it more quickly the second, third, and fourth time. So that would be a question I have.
Maybe every other meeting or something, because we only meet every other week, right? And then there's, yeah, so maybe it's like a monthly.
We can rotate them monthly. We just meet twice a month. So.
All right, so all of our homework is to do 2 things. Go Google for Slack bots that can solve this problem, and Google for GIFs of wheels that can be added to the Slack channel. Preferably not wheels of blood, but you know, fun wheels, wheels of cheese, you know, things like that.
Tiny wheels.
Only small wheels of blood, not very big ones. How do you think they do the antibody test?
Ball bearings of blood. That's really what we're.
It's all ball bearings nowadays.
Antibody levels closest without going over.
I'm so glad this is recorded.
It's not recorded, it's live on YouTube.
Okay. Anything else? That's it on the agenda. So, and we're 8 minutes to the top of the hour. I think we're good. I think Okay, let's close the stream before we
Joe, you're still streaming live.